Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for finding my channel on the amazing YouTube network and joining me as I explore the wide world of pens. And yes, we're going to revisit a brand that I've enjoyed quite a bit recently, and this is part of my 3 stealth pens that I talked about a little bit ago. It comes in this nice black box. Yes, they have an interesting saying, unique and traditional. The box got a little beat up in transit, but doesn't bother me. I don't buy a pen because of the box. If we open it up, we'll see a nice Stealthy pen. Very secure in this plastic insert. Yes, it is not easy to get out. Nice dark chrome. It just feels good in the hand right away. Nice weight. As we found out from our initial review, a pop-off cap, revealing a nice dark section, same material as the cap and barrel, and a nice black nib that's labeled F for fine. Nothing I have feels like this in your hand. It feels kind of soft, but it's not really soft. It's obviously a matte black finish. There's a little step up here, but you don't notice it. Fits nice in the hand, and as we would expect from this design, it posts deeply, securely, and it actually feels good posted. Yes, it does turn. Well, wait a second. It doesn't post. Well, it doesn't stay on. You can put the cap there. As long as you're writing, it'll stay there. Moves a little bit, but as some people have talked about, they don't like it because it doesn't post securely. But I love the snap cap. I love the minimalistic look where that cap and barrel just blend together. I like the dark chrome, kind of shiny flat ends, top and bottom. So this is the 517D. I have a 517S, which I also enjoy for different reasons. But it's a classic design, works well as a pen. Let's see how that nib writes. So these are the 2 Hongdian 517s that I have. You can see the difference between that kind of dark chrome finish and a more silvery, shiny chrome finish. They're both pretty shiny. They're both marked behind the cap, identifying the brand and the model. Hongdian 517S here in stainless steel, and the 517D in this really nice coating. Everything else is pretty much the same. So I'm certain there's a brass core to both of these maybe. This is considered a Mark II model. Biggest difference is pop-off cap, where this one unscrews, and it takes about 1 1/4 turns. We'll see a nice section here. And this is also a fine nib, and we're going to compare that to the fine nib that's in the black pen. It's just the tipping material is different between these 2 nibs. And also I think the dark coating that they put on the nib also changes the writing characteristics. But the best thing is when you put nib to paper, then you can actually feel the difference. Well, here I have disassembled the Hongdian as much as I'm going to. All these are metal bits for the section, barrel, and cap. And the nib is in this nib assembly, and I have a bunch of these, so no need to take this apart. I put my bulb syringe on the end of this nib assembly and flushed it very well. So I'm happy with how clean it's going to be. I read so many times people saying they get a pen and it doesn't write, and I'm certain they didn't flush it. Standard Hongdian converter here. And yes, it may be, well, I didn't know I had to flush it, and people buy fountain pens and don't realize it's not a ballpoint where you just click and write. It's something you need to spend some time with, understand, and get it to work the way you want it to work, which in my experience can be done. Effort may vary based on the pen you have. So we're going to bring in the LED because I like to do that. So this pen I wiped down before I brought it out for this examination. If you're worried about fingerprints and smudges, probably not a pen for you. Nice plastic liner at the very top of the cap. You can see some indents in there. That's the piece that grips the end of the section. There's no clutch ring like you might find in a slip-on cap. And if we look at the barrel, we'll see a fairly thick wall there. If we go down to the bottom, we'll see what appears to be an interesting design. I think that's a piece of brass screw that holds on that end finial on the barrel. I'm certain there's a similar screw inside the cap, but you don't see it because of that plastic liner. Very well constructed, engineered pen, like Hongdian is known to do. So those that watched my vintage pen video, I'm into this ink, and sometimes I just get into an ink and just use it. And I thought that was an appropriate ink to put into the Hongdian. I got a very full fill. The first one up pretty much filled it all the way, but of course I do two more to make certain I get as much ink as possible, and also flush the nib and feed with ink to make certain that first writing experience is a good one. First response is this nib has lots of feedback. Almost too much for me. We're going to compare the fine nib on the 517S. It was sitting uncapped for a while. I mean, this is also a fine number 5 nib. It has Noodler's Lexington Gray, so it's a different ink, and I definitely feel it's a wetter ink. I mean, that line is almost twice as wide between these two nibs, and this is very smooth. You cannot hear it. So I really wish that this nib in the 517D, the black nib, wrote as well as this just plain stainless steel nib in the 517S. Just keep that in mind if you go for the black nib. It may not write exactly the way you expect or experienced with other Hongdian nibs. I like a little bit of feedback. Feel the paper underneath of the nib, but this has a lot. I would say this Aurora ink is medium dry to dry, and I think that has a lot to do with how this nib feels. I think a more lubricated ink, the nib would feel better on the paper. Just my theory. I'm pretty much recovered from COVID, but I'm still not ready to play around with multiple inks in this pen. To me, I'll get used to this ink in this pen with this nib. So let's rate the pen. This is a tough one because I really like the pen. Nib so-so, but that's easily replaceable and fixed. I'm going to give it a 9.7. It gets one check because this surface and finish is just excellent. It gets one check because it's very well made, very well put together, and enjoyable. And it gets one check because I like the fact that it's very stealthy. So that's where we get to 9.7. Probably a little bit higher than some of you may have thought, but it's my review. Yeah, it's my rating. So we've reached the end of this short video. If you want to see more, you can watch my review of the 3 pens or my first impressions of the 3 pens. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Hopefully this video finds you safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, enjoying putting ink on paper. That's where we're at. We've reached the end of this video. We're going to say bye. And the more you write with this, the more you can enjoy the nib. It is a stiff nib, so don't expect any softness.